Hi, this is Toby Salgado. I'm here to help you answer a question that we all have. How can I build my business faster and better? Each week, I interview top producing real estate agents, coaches, and authors. I dig in, I find out how they did it, where they struggled, and how they overcame the obstacles that inevitably gets in front of all of us. And I did that so both you and I, so we all can reach our own full potential. If you want more of the tips and strategies we cover in this session, you're going to want to do two things. First, go to our site, superagentslive.com, and subscribe to the show on iTunes so that you don't miss any of the conversations we have in the future. And second, download my free ebook and learn how to stack the deck in your favor. Before we get going, let's hear from our sponsor. We all know the best kind of referral is one from our sphere or firm. But how do we stay top of mind? Now, most people, they take a three-pronged approach, right? They door knock in their farm, they call people, and they mail them. Our new sponsor, Discover Publications, takes that one step further. For just slightly more than the cost of a stamp, Discover Publications creates a completely customized newspaper. Now, they'll go out and they'll curate content, or you can create your own. All of my sponsors are white labeled. Now, prior to having them on the show, I called some of Discover Publications clients, and I talked to this one guy, and he does some interesting things. He'll go out and interview restaurants that are in his farm, in his sphere. He creates a write-up. He, interestingly enough, resells advertising in his own newspaper to his trusted network, whether that's the plumber or the insurance agent. And by the way, this guy has 60% market penetration. He told me the paper has cemented those numbers. If you're interested, go check out discoverpubs.com. Let me know what you think. Hey, one other quick thing before we get to it. I just cut a deal with Bob Corcoran's organization. Any of you that want to get a free coaching call, you can. You know, Bob loves what we're doing for aspiring super agents, and he wanted to lend a hand. If you want to get your free coaching call, send an email to Bubba, just like it sounds, B-U-B-B-A, Bubba, at corcorancoaching.com, and let him know you listen to the show. Let's get to it. Today's episode is with Teresa Cowart, and this is kind of not all episodes are created equal, right? Some are better than others. Some you might resonate with, and others you don't. Today, this episode, man, I dig in and I try to figure out sort of new. I'm kind of digging into like new sort of niches for you guys to go and go try to find deals. So stick with it. Hopefully you like it. And again, I don't know that this one is for everybody. So, welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah.
So I want to do something that I haven't done for a while, and I need to keep this up, and it is iTunes reviews. Man, any review you guys give the show, either on iTunes or Stitcher, it helps us so much. And when people take the time out and give me a review, look, I want to reach out and let them know that I appreciate it. So Joe Agent says, simply awesome. Derek777 says he's a Super Agents Live addict. He says, I get withdrawals when I'm away from it. NC at Homeset, amazingly great. JNat, everybody's saying it's amazing. JNat says he's hooked. Heidi064, inspirational show. Thank you, Heidi. Super Hooper, I know that dude. Unbelievable. Steve6824, he just says, dude. And the first thing he says, how does he not charge for this? Content's amazing. TRS 2001, my new favorite podcast. LG Chicago, pure killer. Ladmo, inspirational again. That's cool. Michael HFTGU, great show. R Peterson 44, loves it. Oakley 182, great show for anyone or looking for inspiration. Mark DS11, podcast is gold. PH Natasha just says thank you. You're welcome, Natasha. Newport Sandy, must listen. Jamie Kaiser, best in the business. Great value in every show. DOF Bing, Doff Bing, Best on Real Estate Mentor Show. That's right. Fast Court 94. He enjoys it. Gene D'Angelo, great. Everybody kills it. It's next level information. Britt V, quality. Carlos Realty. Auburn Preferred Alex, thanks. Buy and sell with Marcus. At Southern AZ, Jesse, I know that dude. He's all over Twitter. Mo sells. I know Mo. Okay, listen, real quick. Here is the deal. I want to ask you guys something. Hopefully you can help me out. The name of this show is Super Agents Live, right? We have this great podcast. We have a great site. I can't change it, but I do think there's a lot of people who see the show on iTunes and they sort of dismiss it. I mean, a lot of people have told me that. They're like, "Hey, I saw your show." And it took me a while, but I finally downloaded it and it's great. And I think the reason for that is I just have Super Agents Live, and then the tagline is Meet Your Mentor. Not everybody knows that this show is about real estate. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep up this feed, right? We're at episode 107 today. But I'm going to start a new feed. So basically, I'm going to start a new podcast, but I'm going to reuse all the interviews that I've already done. So I need some help with names. Like if somebody out there, I know there is somebody out there that is just fantastic with names. I would really, really love if you could help me out and say, listen, blah, blah, blah. But I do think in the name, it should say real estate agent. So, I was thinking about real estate agents, tagline, make more money, or, real estate agent millionaires speak, or I don't know. I'm not that great with names. Unfortunately, my wife is, but she always comes up with like kitschy ones. And anyhow, okay, help me out. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll do something for you if you can come up with a name that works. All right. Hey, let's get to the show. Hey, Teresa, thanks for taking the time out today.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problems. Hey, look, so I've given the audience a brief overview of your background, but maybe take a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Okay, well, I have been a realtor for about a decade now. I was in human resources with Hershey Chocolate before I came into this world, and I have worked really hard, built a good team, and now am the co-owner of our RE/MAX office here locally.
So you came from HR at a big company, a big Fortune 50 company. Like I'm assuming they're Fortune 50, right? They're certainly Fortune 100. And to real estate, how did that happen for you?
Well, my story is a little crazy and kind of intuitive of how I have lived my life by the seat of my pants. But our plant here locally was being downsized, basically shut down, bought out by another company, and I was not comfortable with the new company. I was driving on a retail therapy session, and I happened to see a sign on a billboard that said real estate class starting tomorrow. And I turned my car around, and I pulled in, and I said, sign me up. This is what I want to do. So that's how I got into real estate.
So a retail therapy session. So you went shopping. You were
basically, yeah.
You're feeling bad about yourself, so you went shopping. But look, so I mean, so the new company you didn't like, so you weren't going to work there.
Right.
Did real estate speak to you, or was it just an opportunity? You saw, hey, this is a job opportunity.
You know what? I just always thought that I wanted to do something in real estate in the back of my head.
Huh.
And in human resources, we were always helping people relocate to the area. So I was always calling realtors saying, I've got this person, they're coming for an interview. What can you do to help me? Can you drive them around for a couple hours? That kind of thing. So I was always kind of telling people how wonderful it was to live in this area anyway. And, I did have an opportunity to move to another area with the company, and I just wasn't interested in doing that. At the time, my kids were fairly young. Is that better?
Got it. By the way,
much better.
real quick,
Okay.
And we're still recording. All right. It sounds like you're on a cell phone. Do you have a landline available? Here's something I want to talk about.
I do.
So
you are in
there. This is an interesting strategy here that with some of my corporate or coaching students, we're playing with this. So you are in HR, and when you are doing a new hire, you would reach out to agents and do what? And so, look, here's what I want to get at, Teresa. Is this a viable lead gen channel? Should people in the audience, if they have some big companies in their city, right? I'm in San Diego, so we have Intuit. I mean, we have giant Qualcomm. Should they be reaching out into the HR group at those companies and saying, "Listen, I want to be your preferred agent"?
Yeah, I absolutely think that they should. And in this area, there are a lot of agents that do that because we have some huge industry around here. And there are a lot of, I'm on the preferred list for several large companies in the area. And when new companies come in, of course, the really good agents are scrambling to try to get on that preferred list.
Amazing, man. I don't think, why has this never come up on the show? We talk about farming, we talk about working your sphere, we talk about all that stuff. But and we've also talked about certain people will work with like probate attorneys. But in terms of working with HR, is this something that everybody knows that just doesn't do it, or is this sort of a secret?
I don't know if it's a secret or not, but it makes perfect sense. If you hear that ABC company is coming to your area and they're going to hire 300 people, then that's 300 people that need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So you should definitely try to go out and develop a relationship with those HR people. Or sometimes they use relocation companies, which some of the companies here use those as well. And you just, put yourself in a position where you are on that list and make friends with the HR people. We do little things that don't cost a lot of money, dropping off cookies to the HR people, just sending them an email every once in a while, just reminding them, hey, we're out here, because those people are the first folks that any applicant or new employee meet.
Right.
So,
yeah. So how does it? Can you give us a script, or how, I work at Hershey's, or I work at Qualcomm, you're gonna call me. How does that go?
Well, basically, I know a lot of the people, number one, because I was in the industry, but
Yeah.
I'm going to just call them and say, hey, I noticed, I read in the paper. Sometimes I send them a clipping of the newspaper article and just say, I read in the paper that you guys are hiring, 300 people. I would love to be part of that team, that relocation team. I will do anything I can to help you. If you've got somebody you really want to impress, I am happy to put them in my car and drive them around for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, however long you think it's going to take to just kind of show them the area and try to sell them on moving to the area. Because, a lot of times, from an HR background, a lot of times the applicant is not really the person that you have to sell. So you have to find out, is his wife coming with him, or his kids coming with him?
Ah.
Because you're going to sell it a little differently.
Right.
Depending on who's coming with him. And I have actually been on the phone and called the wife that was, back home in Minnesota or wherever, and said, hey, I understand your husband's coming. I spent some time with him today. We rode around this neighborhood, that neighborhood. I would love to send you a relocation packet about our area because I understand you weren't with him, and so you didn't get to see the things that he saw. Because especially a couple, there's two people as part of that team, and you've got to sell them both. She may not want to leave where she lives.
Interesting.
That's a benefit to the HR manager.
Got it. Okay, that's cool. So how hard is it to get on the list? Can I just call up and say, call into Hershey's? And well, look. So is there if I think of a Qualcomm, HR is not one person. HR is a giant group. So yeah. So what is there? Is it like a relocation? What is that title? You
have to find out. Every company's different. You have to find out how they do it. We have a large company here that has their own little reload department, and it's really not HR, it's the reload department. But it takes a little bit of time to figure out how each company works because they all work a little different.
Yeah.
In my situation, we were a large plant, but HR was just a few people, so it was easier to probably get to me than it would be to get to somebody at, say, Gulfstream here. I mean, that just takes a lot more time. And sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, but it's beneficial to you if you just hang in there and stay with it.
Yeah, look, that's with everything, right? That's life. Just
right.
Take action and stick to it, and create a plan and stick to it. So What else is there? So I want to stay on this for just a couple more minutes and then move on. So I can find you the relocation person in the group. Is there okay, that Gulfstream? Maybe people come in, they're new hires, but they don't like just move, start, and buy a house. Maybe what about temporary housing? Like, is that another like bucket that maybe if you're an agent you can go fish in?
Right. Well, and we don't typically in my market make a whole lot of money off stuff like that. But if you stay in touch with those people that you put in that temporary housing, or that you put in that apartment for a year, you gave them the little drive around. They decided they're not comfortable buying yet. They're just going to rent for a while. Okay, well, I still have met them, been in front of them, have a relationship with them. Now I know where they're living, so I'm going to stay in touch with them. And whenever they're ready to buy, they're going to buy from me,
right,
because I spent all that time for them. And that's just an investment that you're making.
Yeah, and what I was more talking about, Teresa, was so. Again, I'll say at Qualcomm here, right? They have corporate housing, right? Or they are like corporate apartments, kind of a thing. Like, hey, come in. We'll put you up in this apartment for 3 months while you get your get your feet on the ground. And I was just thinking the people who manage those, right? So you can fill a position with the HR person, but the people who manage that corporate housing is pretty in tune with what their residents are doing. I was again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
we don't have a lot of that in this area. There's a lot of apartment complexes, and I hate to keep using Gulfstream as a reference, but up around that area where that is, and they will rent like on a 3-month basis, and then the company supplements or however they do it to make them financially solvent on that. But that's a little bit more difficult in our area, just because of the way that it works. But we do have people all the time that will call us and say, I'm moving here, I'm getting a job at Gulfstream, and I need a rental, or I need this, or I need that. And, those are the times where you just have to stop and say, well, why are you renting? And I manage rentals, so I have no problem with rentals.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to be able to understand what their motivation is.
Got it. And so, how is there? So what? How does your market? Right. Okay. So people are going to be moving to your city to work at these companies. Is there a way that you market your do marketing to kind of reach those people prior to even, talking with the HR group at that company?
Oh, sure we do. I mean, if we know a certain area where they're recruiting from heavily, we actually start marketing that area. The other thing that we have that's really unique for us is that we are positioned between 2 military bases, about the same distance between both of them. And where my office is, we have a great school system and low taxes, so we're where they want to live. So we actually even go out to those bases and start marketing at those bases, that we're, when you come to Savannah, when you come to Richmond Hill, you need to call us because we'll help you. We're, military specialists, blah, blah, blah. So it is how you market. And you do need to find out where the people are coming from, and that just takes research.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're landing on some good stuff here. So talk to me about, so I'm in San Diego, and we are crazy with bases, right? We have Camp Pendleton, which is giant. We have like all of them here, right? We have the Army, the Navy, the Marines. So we have 3 bases here. If somebody's in San Diego, again, what does that look like? How do I go into those bases? I know, and look, you can it's amazing. I did this recently for a different company that I was starting. You can literally just drive up to the base, fill out some paperwork, and drive in. You have to tell them like why you want to get in. But once I get in, like, what would I do? Give us people some guidance on how you do that at those bases.
Well, there are buildings that are just about in processing. So when you go there, you can get on the list. You can advertise in their welcome packet. We just started advertising on a map that is only given out to incoming soldiers of the base. So it's not even a public document. but it's given out to the soldiers when they're coming in. They have a newcomer's guide for when they come in. We advertise in there. We also advertise on some of the military websites. So,
Right.
We're very conscious that those folks usually, when they're coming in town, they also typically have already either sold their other home or have rented their other home, and they can. I mean, again, they have to have somewhere to live.
Right.
They're not a move-up client or a move-over client or a downsize client. They're a client that needs a home right now.
And you know what, too? I was just thinking about. So when the last company I started was called Task Hero. I won't get into it, but we focused on veterans and active duty people, and we could even pay at Camp Pendleton, we could pay them $50 and go set up a table. $50, set up a table. We could put it right outside the PX. And I remember the people who were talking about it. They said, "Hey, do it on Friday because everybody's cashing their check and everybody's gonna walk by your booth." Have you ever tried that?
We have, and we actually just signed up for a back to school fair that they're having end of July, and it's the same thing, just like you said. $50, you get to come and put out all your paraphernalia and talk to thousands of people that are just wandering through. So, capture.
Yeah, right. Especially, if you're positioning yourself as the military specialist people, look, how's that worked for you? I mean, how many deals have you gotten? I mean, is that something that is, valuable, or is that somebody that, you'd put sort of a low person on your team, right? The low person on the totem pole, to go man that desk or that table?
I know. I think it's extremely valuable because the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that even if you're not going to buy a house, you probably know somebody who is.
Right.
So
yes.
It's always about asking, well, I understand that, your credit's not quite there yet. Can I put you with a lender, that a friend of mine that can help you maybe work on that over the next 6 months? And who else do you know? Do you know somebody who is looking to buy a house now or sell their house, or, so you have to ask those questions. They're not going to volunteer it typically. You have to ask them.
Right. And it's funny, what I learned, unlike, by the way, Teresa, already, you coming on this show is super valuable for my audience because, number one, what we talked about, HR. We haven't talked about it on the show before. Number two, now we're talking about marketing to the military and how to do that. What I was going to say before I went off on that little tangent was, what I did learn is that, unlike, again, HR, where you can develop a relationship and people can say, hey, go talk with my friend Teresa about real estate, the military can't do that. They cannot, they can't endorse anybody, which is kind of crappy.
Right. Hey, but their wives can.
Okay.
There's lots of places like on Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram and stuff like that where the wives talk about stuff. I have a military spouse now who I think she's in Idaho or somewhere, but I sold her house several years ago, and she's still referring people to me. If she finds out somebody's moving to this area, she tells them, you have got to call Teresa Cowart.
How
so
funny.
That is important. Those relationships, I'm a huge Facebook person anyway, and a lot of my clients are my personal friends as well as my page, and I know enough about this to be dangerous, but I stay on there a lot, and those ladies, when a lady comes on and asks me to be her friend and she's a military spouse, immediately that somebody else has referred her to me, and she's just trying to find information about me personally, what kind of person I am, and that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually going to look up your. So what you said earlier, you said enough. You're a big Facebook person, and you know enough to be dangerous. What do you mean? That's not.
Well, I just mean that everything that's always evolving, and I consider myself pretty savvy, but I don't know everything there is to know about Facebook and how it works. I mean, I know there's Facebook ads. The problem with being a realtor, and I'm sure other realtors would agree, is that we get so many conversations, so many phone calls, so many solicitations for this great thing and that great thing, that sometimes it's just really hard to distinguish what is real and what's not. What is a good value for your money, what you're going to get your return on your investment. And I have kind of partnered with some other really good agents in other markets. What I found about RE/MAX agents in particular, and I'm sure it's the same with other companies as well, is as long as you're not in my market, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Right.
You know, about what works and what doesn't.
Teresa, are you, I think I just found your page. Do you have brown hair? You brown hair, you're wearing a blue dress. Is this you?
No, I don't think so.
Richmond Hill. Are you in Georgia? No, that's not you.
Yes. No.
Cassie Peterson.
Cassie Peterson
she's
works
pretty.
for me. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she is pretty. She works for me, but that's not me.
Got it.
Actually, my personal Facebook has myself and my 3 daughters on the cover.
I want to.
And then let's see what my page looks like. I think the page has my team.
Let me break in here with a message from our sponsor. Our sponsor, Discover Publications, will create a customized, branded 12-page newspaper that will be sent out to your farm and sphere. Now, this paper is cheaper than you think. For slightly more than the cost of a stamp, you can start sending out curated content and always stay top of mind. Never lose a deal again because that prospect just happened to forget that you were in real estate or misplaced your number. Go check them out at discoverpubs.com. I'll find it. Okay. Right. Well, look, what? Here's what we left off when I interrupted you. You said, hey, everybody is, wants to sell you a subscription. There's all this, latest and greatest. Oh, here you are. You're the blonde-haired girl.
Yes, I'm the blonde.
Okay. You're pretty too.
That is, thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody wants to sell you something, right? There's all these lead gen, buy our leads or buy our lead gen. How does somebody go through and figure out, especially if they're new and you don't have a ton of money when you're starting out, but you have a lot of, you want to win. What are some of the things that what mistakes did you make? Let me ask it that way, in terms of buying something and wasting time on not the right thing.
Yeah, you don't have that much time. I have tried a lot of stuff. I've discerned what works and what doesn't work, and I have totally learned. The biggest lesson I've probably learned is that I am not going to make the decision on the first phone call. And I ask for references. If somebody says this is the latest, greatest, popsicle stand, blah blah blah, I'm like, okay, well, who else is using you in my market?
Right.
Or what other RE/MAX agent can you give me in any part of the United States that I can call? And if they can give me 3 or 4 numbers and I call those people and they say, yeah, this works, then I'm going to consider it. If they can't, then obviously, they have no credibility with me at that point. I need references. I need to call some people and find out if it's going to work or not, especially if it's a significant amount of money, which in real estate, it seems like everything's a significant amount of real money.
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing I'm trying to do is I'm starting to bring on vendors to kind of solve this exact same thing, right? Is it worthwhile? And me just dig in and and I destroy some of these people, or I try to destroy them, because I want my audience to know. And so, we've had Greer Allen on the show from Boomtown. Now, Boomtown, I was surprised, like, hey, Greer, how much does it cost? He's like, it's $1,800 a month. I'm like, that is pricey, man. But then you have stuff like Land Voice Data, which do you know Land Voice?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know Boomtown too.
Really? Do you use either one of those?
I do use Boomtown. Mm-hmm.
You do? How?
Yes.
Tell me. Well, is that something that? At what point should somebody invest that $1,800, $1,500 or $1,800 a month and dig in?
That's not for new agents. 100%. It will be overwhelming, and you have to have a system and people in place to man it. You can buy whatever you want to buy. If you don't have the system in place to manage it and the people to man it, it will never work. So Boomtown can sometimes send you 20 leads a day. So you better have somebody who can call, because they're not just on Boomtown. They're on 20 other sites.
Right.
So typically it's whoever calls them in the first 10 minutes, So if you're not going to be there to call them, or you don't have somebody to call there, my team we take turns. It's a round robin, the way that it kind of everybody gets 1 out of 4 leads. But on the weekend when they're on call, they take turns on that, because that if I'm going to spend the money, if I'm going to spend $1,800 a month, which is not the bottom line price, by the way, if you're going to spend $1,800 or more a month, then you definitely better know that somebody is calling those people that you're paying to get in front of.
Right. I totally agree. So look, you've seen a lot of people come in real estate's a funny thing. And here's, I see very smart people who can't make it. I see people that are not that smart do extremely, put $60 million on the board. I see people with, big, flashy, really extroverted personalities not make it. And other super vanilla people that some of these people I bring on the show, I'm like, I don't know how you are successful, but they are. So, you've seen all these people and personalities. What do you think? Is there one hurdle that most real estate entrepreneurs have to jump in order to become successful?
I think what makes you successful is your passion. I love real estate. I eat, sleep, and breathe real estate. I have people call me sometimes and say, "Hey, are you, Taylor Cowart's mom?" Yes, I am, because my kids are part of the whole process. They understand that if mom sells a house, we have a closing, we can go shopping.
Yeah.
I love it. My husband, who actually works at Gulfstream, goes to work every day with Teresa Cowart signs on the side of his truck. I mean, it's little grassroots things that you do all the time that really make you successful.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I think that the only other hurdle that a new agent has to overcome, I think, is just time.
Right.
It's just really time. You have to do this for a while. This is not you come into it and 6 months later you're making, $100,000, $200,000 a year. That's not going to happen. You're going to spend a whole lot of money. The first year that I was in real estate, I think every credit card I had was maxed out to the hilt. You're going to spend a lot more money before you make money. You just are.
Yeah. So, because here's what people get wrong about real estate, right? You don't get licensed and all of a sudden, you're just going to sell houses. You are starting a company. You are starting a business, and you need to treat it like that. And people think that they just got themselves a job, and they come in and they treat it like a job instead of saying, okay, hold on. I need to have a plan. I need to have a budget, and then I need to execute.
Right.
So
that's exactly right.
So in terms of, all your credit cards were maxed out. I'm sure that you didn't envision that, but what kind of a budget? If people are out there, because we have big brokers that listen to this show, and we have people that are just getting their license right now. What kind of a budget would should people? What kind of a runway? Right? Should they have 3 months of living, 6 months of living?
I mean, the more you could have in your savings account, obviously, the better. I had a little bit unique situation because I had also bought a tanning salon about the same time that the company was closing down. So I had cash flow. I had some cash flow.
Got it.
And that's the part that I think is really difficult for people. If you're a brand new agent, I think probably the best thing that you can do is find another really successful agent. And I did do this. I walked around this office and I said, I will take any lead you give me and I will give you 50% of the money I make.
Oh, that's great.
I just got to get started.
Yeah.
I just got to get started. I will, and the top producers in this office were like, yeah, here you go. Because the going rate's 25. And I was like, 50%, I'll give you half of everything because I have nothing, and half of nothing is still nothing.
That's right.
So
and
that's how I got started. And then I grabbed one of the guys in the office. I actually probably aggravated his wife more than I aggravated him, but I pretty much just pushed him until he mentored me. I mean, I just bugged the crap out of him all the time. How does this work? Because, like you said, what they don't tell you is they should teach a class that says, I have my license, now what?
Right.
Because nobody knows what to do once they have their license. Okay, I'm with a company. I've got my license. I got my cute little office. I got my stapler, my computer. Okay, why is my phone not ringing?
Yeah.
So I don't think people get it.
Yeah. So, I think most people don't get it. And here's the other amazing thing, right? NAR just put out this some stats, and only 4% of licensed agents make more than $200,000 a year. And people think, people think that, they're going to come in and, I'm going to show beautiful houses and, I'm just going to cut deals left and right and I'm going to be a rainmaker. So look, if you were going to answer that question, I have my license. Now what? Give us like the first, 3 or 4 things, right? Now what?
Well, the first thing I think you need to do is find somebody who'll help you. You need to find a mentor in your office that will help you. Even if you have to give them 50% of everything you make for the first year, you need somebody to mentor you and walk you through it, because your first deal may be a nightmare deal. You don't know. I mean, there are situations where, my first deal, I actually sold my listing at an open house. That never happens. But I was too stupid to know that never happened.
Right.
And I made it happen. But you just never know what is coming down the pike, and you need somebody that you can bounce those questions off of, and it can't always be your broker, because your broker is a lot of times too busy to deal with the little, what I call, there are no stupid questions, but I probably asked a whole lot of stupid questions in the beginning. I'm sure I did. So just because I was unsure and I wanted to do it right, and I think most agents are, we get out of school and we're scared to death because there's so much legal ramifications for everything that we do. So we're, trying to make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted. So I think you need to find somebody that will mentor you in some way, shape, or form. And there's lots of agents that will. There are some agents who won't, but for everyone that won't, there's 2 that will. So just find somebody who will, help you out, especially a busy agent. If you can find a really busy agent that doesn't have time to deal with all their, I know that I probably got the crumbs that agent had to deal with, probably the people that he thought never would buy a house, but I don't care. Some of them did. It didn't matter to me. I would take anybody. I had nobody, so I would take anybody. I sat in open houses. I took my iPad or my laptop, whatever, and I watched movies or whatever I had to do, worked on my business plan. You have to be out there. You're not going to make a dime sitting in your house.
Right. Yeah,
You're
for
not
sure.
going to make any money sitting home.
So how does So in terms of finding a mentor, what look, this I was not so sure about this call with you at first. I wasn't sure if it was going to be valuable, but it is turning out to be super valuable. How does someone find a mentor, and what does that look like? What can I expect? Right? Should I expect an hour a week of because one-on-one, or what? Unpack that a bit if you can.
You should expect to do whatever that person wants you to do or fit into their schedule. Because I know that I was up here sometimes at 8 o'clock at night, sitting on the floor with my notebook, scribbling as fast as he talked. I was up here sometimes on Saturday morning because that's when he had his time available. Whenever they were available, I made myself available.
Got it.
And really and truly, he just talked to me. And he also, whenever I did have a client, I would come back in and say, okay, here's what we did. These are the houses that we saw. This is what they're saying to me. What does that mean?
Right.
Like, what should I say? Because there's usually a comeback for everything. You don't always know what people really mean,
Right.
So you just have to. I heard this just the other day, and I know that it's something I've heard all my life because I'm a talker. But God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah. So
I had to consciously not try to inject. I listened to him. I was a sponge. And then I went out and tried it. And some of the things that I thought, I'm not sure if that'll work with my personality, you just put your own spin on it, and yes, it works. As long as you're genuine and you have the right heart.
Right. Passion and genuineness and authenticity. And you're saying all sorts of good stuff. So, and by the way, just if nobody's ever heard that, 2 ears and 1 mouth, what does that mean? It
just means that God gave you twice as many ears because you should listen more than you talk.
Right. You should listen twice as much as you talk.
You should always listen more than you talk. And a lot of times, I know myself personally, I can think of one situation the first year that we went into a house and it had the most god-awful, ugly green carpet I've ever seen in my life. And it was right there for me to say, oh, my Lord, this carpet is horrible. And the next words out of the wife's mouth was, I love the carpet.
Amazing.
And I was like, oh, Lord, thank you for keeping my mouth shut.
Amazing. You know, it's so funny. It's so funny. I'll tell you, man, even with like this show, I will do one and I'll go, that was not very good. And then I'll release it, I'll hold it. And I'll go, man, I'll just release that episode. And I get, you know, Twitter blows up and my email blows up and they're like, that's so great. So it's amazing, right? I mean, you're not everybody else. So I'm learning that as well. So going back to finding a mentor. So I'm a new agent or whatever. I can either go join a Remax office and, you know, and find somebody in there, or I can find a Teresa Cowart and join your team. Like, what's the pros and cons to both of those?
Well, the cons is you're going to share your money. You're going to share your money with me forever, and until you decide to leave the team. But I mean, I think there are more pros than cons, obviously, and I think that's the reason there are so many more teams these days than there have been in the past. I have 2 young ladies on my team that are relatively young, and when I interview people, I don't really care if you've sold real estate for 10 years or 10 days, because to me it really matters where your heart is and how badly you want to succeed. Those are the 2 most important things to me. And I have a couple of very seasoned agents on my team, and then I have those 2 ladies, and they work their butt off, and they're just as successful. They may not sell quite as many houses, but for the time that they've had in the business, I consider them extremely successful because I know where they're going to be. And if at the end of the day, and you know, this happened in my HR world too, if somebody works for me for 2 years and they sell 60 houses a year for those 2 years, how is that a bad thing if year 3 they decide to go out on their own?
Right.
I mean, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I want these people to be successful. When they come in, they don't have as much overhead. The good thing about being part of a team is you are fed leads.
Right.
You have instant clients day one, and you don't have the overhead because the team leader absorbs that. I handle all the advertising. Of course, everything says Teresa Cowart team on it.
Right.
But I handle all the advertising. I buy the signs. I buy their business cards. I mean, I take care of them. The only thing that they really have to pay is whatever fees the broker charges. And there have been times when I've taken care of that too, you know, just because I saw that in them, you know, for a limited time.
Yeah.
But, you know, I saw that in them that I just felt like they're going to be a great agent. And, you know, I'm not going to live forever. So, you know, I'd like to have some people that are really great out there.
Yeah.
One day I'd like to retire.
It seems to me that joining a team is way better than going out on your own, because number one, overhead is one thing, and that's an important thing depending on again your cash situation. But number two, I can leverage your talent. Right, I'm going to have more one-on-one with somebody like you than trying to get that info from my broker. Right, sort of a built-in mentor is what I'm trying to get at. And then number three, you are paying that $1,800 for Boomtown, and you're getting those leads. So I think that's and what is a lead worth? I mean, you know what it costs you. So anyhow, okay. So that's all golden stuff. What else should, I just got my license. Now what? So I'm going to go find a mentor. I had now, from you, Teresa, they've learned the pros and cons of joining an office or a team. What else should they start thinking about?
Well, I caution everybody in my office, and this may or may not be something that y'all talk about on the show, but you better make sure that you are putting some money back for savings, number one, but for Uncle Sam, number two.
Yes.
Like, that's extremely important, and a lot of people lose sight of that because you are going to pay taxes, and you are an independent contractor, so you absolutely have to make sure that you have money saved for that. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that, especially in the beginning when you're maxing out your cards and you're just trying to survive. Yeah,
or they go and they do some deals, sell a big house or whatever, and they're like, oh man, I'm gonna go buy a new car, and you can make so many justifications. Okay, listen, if I drive a Mercedes, I'm gonna look more successful, and therefore I'm gonna close more deals. And then at the end of the year, they're like, ugh. You know,
Yeah, Uncle Sam, $40,000. Where's that coming from? That's right.
Right. So what is
That's absolutely right. And you don't want that to be an albatross around your neck.
Yeah.
Like, just go ahead and start saving. I mean, if you don't pay it quarterly, just go ahead and put it in your account and forget about it, which is kind of what I do.
Yeah, and look, and the other thing that for me, right? I mean, I know you didn't ask me this question, but I was like, it's having that budget, right? You should have 3 bank accounts. You should have your living expenses bank account. You should have your marketing expenses bank account, and then there's another one that I always talk about that I can't forget. But you need to separate that. If you have just one bank account with all your money, your money for taxes, money for marketing, you never know where that's
right.
a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I don't do that. You're right. That's exactly what I do. That's a very good point. I have multiple checking accounts and a couple of savings accounts for that reason. That I have one savings account that is, or money market, whatever it is, that is just for taxes. And I just don't touch it. If it goes in there, it's there till the end of the year. And if there's money left over, that's awesome because that'll start next year. But I'm not touching that.
Right. Well, plus for you, I mean, you have so much cash that you have to spread it around between banks.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how much cash I have.
I'm just kidding you, Teresa. I'm just joking. So, okay, that's good stuff. I mean, look, this business, I mean, I know you have a passion for it. You talked about your difficult first year, but, real estate is this business of no's. It's a business of rejection. You go out every day and you try to make something happen and you put yourself out there and people, tell you no. They say, no, I don't want what you have. I'm not interested in you. Was there ever a time where and again, we all have those days or weeks where you're like, man, I just can't get up and do it again today. Was there ever a time that you felt that and you wanted to quit? And how did you push through that? Never.
I never have. I've never wanted to quit since I got in it. I love it. I mean, there are days when I'm very frustrated and I just want to, put my head under the sink or something, but there's never been a day when I really thought, I hate this. There's never been a day like that. I have some really challenging days. Today has kind of been one of them, but I still love it. It's a feel-good job. It is a feel-good job. I know there's a lot of no's. I know people are ugly to us sometimes or condescending or, whatever, downright rude.
Yeah.
But there's a special kind of joy that comes from that when you get to the end and you have made a family or a young soldier or a college graduate feel good about themselves. They've got a new home. They're happy. There's just something about that feeling that makes it all worthwhile. All those other people, they cannot. I say this all the time. You are not stealing my joy. That guy is not stealing my joy. I am going to be happy today. This is going to be a good day. And I don't care what they do. Those are just negative people. Get away from me.
Yeah, that's poisonous. Good for you, man.
Exactly.
I bet working on your team is fun. I bet if you feel that way, I mean, look, corporate culture starts at the top. And if you build your team with this kind of love and passion that you're exuding over the airwaves right now, I bet that it just feels like such a great environment to wake up and go and do work in.
I hope so. It's not my job, it's my life. Yeah. So this is what we do, and it seeps over into every other part of my life. I mean, you can't, my husband, I'll use him as an example, he goes to work Monday through Friday, and with few exceptions, he doesn't think about his job very much on the weekends or at night, and I'm the girl that's like checking her phone at 3 a.m. because it beeped, and somebody's texting me or whatever because, the military, they have different time zones a lot. So, you just have to want to do this. This is not something that can just be a job.
So okay, and let's just go down that a little bit. So real estate, your work, right, is who you are, and it seeps into every other part of your life. Which that's every entrepreneur, whatever that's if you are a real entrepreneur and you're building a company, it always works like that, right? You're never working and you're never not working. But let's talk about how do you stay productive and focused on a day-to-day basis with all the stuff that you have going on? You have a team, right? You're selling houses. You're a mom. You're a wife.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Sure.
And you can only do one thing at a time. And I just find that I have to have a list, and I have to prioritize. And sometimes I have to let little stuff go. And over the years, I have probably sacrificed a little bit too much. And you have to have your family buy-in. I can't imagine doing this if my family didn't understand how important it was to me and didn't understand why I do it. I think first people have to understand why your life is like this, and why it's important to you. And I'm fortunate my family does. And I've known lots of women and men who didn't have that support system at home, and they weren't able to do this very long or very well.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, there's something I was going to start ask you about, just the husband dynamic, but I won't. Well, and look, it's this. I'll ask it. So, is there a problem? I don't know how much money your husband makes, but when I talk with successful women like you, a lot of times you make more money than your husband does. And I don't, I wonder if that's an issue sometimes for, in relationships, in marriages.
This is not my first marriage,
Okay.
and we have never put our money together. Like, my grandmother told me that a long time ago, which, she's way smarter every year that goes by. But she told me a long time ago that if you never merged your money with your husband, you'd be a lot happier. And it's not about I've got more money than you or you've got more money than me. We split everything, number one. So at the end of the month, when the mortgage is due, I write a check for half, he writes a check for half.
Interesting.
So I'm never doing more than him. Now, if I want to do something or buy something or pay for something that, maybe he couldn't afford to do or what, I just do it.
Right.
And he doesn't seem to mind. My husband has a great job and makes great money, and he's a great person. And it doesn't matter that if I make more money than he does, or if, the circumstances change and he makes more money than we do, because we're a team and we're going to do it together.
Yeah.
And if he needs money, I'm going to give it to him, or if I need to pay for that, then I'm going to pay for it. And we don't keep tabs.
Right.
But at the same time, he doesn't have a clue how much I spend on marketing or how much I spend on this. And if he did, he would stroke out. He would just die. So he doesn't understand. He's got more of an engineering mind, so he doesn't understand sales anyway, or why, sometimes I do the things that I do, but he loves me, so we overcome that.
Well, can you tell us real quick, and we're going to be wrapping up here in a few, let me see what time, so we're 46 minutes in, so I appreciate you hanging with me. We're just a few more questions and we're going to sign off. Can you tell us one thing? I know we talked about Boomtown, but what's one thing that's working for you in your business right now? And if it's Boomtown, that's it, but that's fine. But
yeah, well, you mean as far as generating leads?
Anything, just something where you just go, you know what, that thing is. I'm glad we developed or did this, or that thing is working, and it's kicking off positive result.
Yeah, I think the most important part of the whole wheel, because of course there's 1,000 cogs to it, is just the management system. The fact that we have all of our customers in a system, and that we can drip email them, and that we can send out flashes, and that we can monitor what they're doing and stay focused on them, because it's all about follow up and the feedback that you're getting from them. Am I doing this right? And are you getting what you need from me? Just total customer service. That's the key, customer service. That's the one thing that works for us. There you go. I got to it. It took me a little bit.
That's okay. No, I love it. I love it. And I just talked with another guy who we talked about. He's got all these email drip campaigns, right? Pre-appointment drips. And I was like, whoa. And I looked at all these and I was like, it's amazing. Anyhow, okay. I do have to wrap up because I have another call in less than 10 minutes. Here's my last question.
Okay.
I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
what book should I go by? I have not read this, but I've heard 5 or 6 people so far told me they have read it. It's a book called The Carpenter, and I really can't say how awesome it is. Only that's my next book I'm going to buy.
Okay, that's good.
I've got a ton of books, but that's the next one I'm going to buy.
I got to find out who wrote that. Well, look, I will find out. For everybody out in the audience, if you want a free copy of The Carpenter, and I don't know who, I'll just use our link.
You can get it on Amazon, and I was going to dig through and find out who wrote it, but I can't remember. But anyway.
Right now. Hold on. He's got a weird name. John Gordon. The Carpenter by John Gordon. Yeah, so if you want a copy of this, use our link, audibletrial.com/superagentslive. Get a free copy. Hey, Teresa, thanks for coming on the show. Let my audience know where they can reach out to you and say thank you, because I know people are like, I've fallen in love with you on this call, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of people just going, that girl is so cool.
Aw, thank you. Well, my email is teresa@teresacowart.com. TeresaCowartTeam.com. I'm sorry, I can't tell you my email right. And then we have a couple of different websites. My main website is TeresaCowartTeam.com.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Hey, okay. Teresa, thanks again. I appreciate you taking time out of a day that was a tough day for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15%